This right here is Dumdum. That right there is my desk garbage can. They don't get along because you see Dumdum likes to sleep right here, right underneath my desk. Usually where my feet go, but he's kind of a good footrest. Anyway, he knocks the garbage can over, so we got to figure out how to fix that. Let's see what we can do at the VISE. As you can see, I haven't got it completely done yet. I had to reassemble it so that way we could shoot today. It's been a busy week, but I'm hoping to get it finished over the week. I did get this top put on, this folding table that I told you guys about, which was a random thing that I just found. This piece, the top is a piece of MDF that I found at Home Depot for around $3. If you go in there, there's a place called the culling lumber cart, and that's the lumber that they can't sell. So they'll either cut it up, or usually maybe they'll just mark it with purple tape. But it's always discounted, and you can find some pretty good deals in there. So, you know, 3/4 or 5/8, no, that'd be 7/8 MDF. And then I just had some self-tapping screws that were already in my screw kit that I just screwed it in. I did about every 6 inches, so it's nice and solid to the top. And that's going to hold my vise. The reason I did this is that I want to stick with the idea that anybody can have a vise and be able to use it. But the idea is that, you know, if you were living in an apartment and you had something like this, you know, maybe the plastic folding table won't work as well, but you can find some good folding tables that you can put your vise on, and then when you're not using it, you can just fold it up and put it in a closet. So this is just a trusty 3-part Stanley. It's nice and compact. It holds enough tools. It holds all the essential tools that I went over in my last video at the VISE. So I think in order to solve this problem, you see, like I said, Dumdum likes to sleep under my desk, and he's a pretty vivid sleeper, so he kicks around a lot, and sometimes he'll knock over my trash can, and you know, that's where I store empty containers of freedom fuel, and sometimes that can get messy. So usually when I'm doing a project like this, I would have a small notebook with me, maybe try to sketch out an idea for what I want to do. But what we're going to do is fairly simple. We got to go get it, but we're going to go get probably a piece of maybe 3/4 inch aluminum stick. Just looks like a yardstick, but it's made of aluminum. And then we're going to bring it back here, and we're going to use this bad boy to bend it into kind of a U shape, right? So it'll have 2 tabs on either side, and then it'll be a U shape that the garbage can just slide down into and slide out of when I want to change it. So let's go to the store. Squiddy rat that do. I'm going to the store to get aluminum and more. Here we go in the Rango. Hey. Hey. Well, I'm on my way to the store. I was just thinking, do you guys have any problems? Do you have any challenges? Do you have any weird, inconvenient tasks that you want solved? Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what your issue is. It is. And for 35 bucks, it's a pretty good deal. Now, if you do come to the orange store, what you're going to be looking for is in the hardware aisle, next to the specialty screws. That's it right there. 1 inch by 1/8 inch. Now, if you don't have a stockpile like I do, you need to get some screws. You don't need to go fancy, unless you want to go for that look. Like, you can get stainless steel and kind of keep the metallic look. But I'm just going to grab some, bam, just going to grab some 1.25 inch drywall screws, and that's going to hold up this bar to the desk. Solid. Let's go. Okay. We've got our aluminum, which, in case you didn't see, it is the flat bar aluminum. It is 1 inch by 1/8 inch by 3 feet long. And then I got some 1.25 inch screws. You know what? We're going to need to get the garbage can. Hi, doggo. And garbage can. Okay. We got our garbage can. A little dirty, a little dusty. Now, we're only going to really need 4 things to do this. For personal protective equipment, I suggest safety glasses. There's no reason not to protect your eyes. Never know when a splinter could happen. And we're going to do this whole project with our hands, so wearing some gloves will be a great idea to protect your hands from any pinch points. Not a huge thing if it happens, but you know, it's painful and annoying. The other 2, you're going to need a marking device. I'm going to be using a Sharpie. You can use pencil on aluminum. The other thing you can use is, say, like a screwdriver. You can do a scratch mark in it. I'm going to use Sharpie because it was the thing that was closest. And then your good old 25-foot tape measure. Have a 25-foot tape measure. Step 1, we got to measure our garbage can. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to measure the inside right here. Okay? That gives us 7 and we'll say 3/8 inch. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the largest point of the arch here. We got about 10 3/4. So now we can start marking. Okay, so I had a camera die while I was doing this initially. What we have here are the marks that we made. Okay, like I said, we want a 2-inch tab on either side of our U. We have the large part for the longest part of the trash can, and then 2 short parts on either side. Checking those dimensions. Oh. Seven 3/8. 7 3/8. 10 3/4. Cool. So our measurements are on. Remember, always check twice. So what we'll notice here is that we have a large portion on this end that we don't need. A good idea anytime you run into this situation, take your marker, put an X on the stuff that you don't need, just so when you get to the point that you're going to cut, you don't accidentally cut at the wrong mark. So we're just going to make straight lines. And these are going to be our bend points for making this U bracket here. They don't need to be perfectly straight. There we go. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is get rid of this guy here. Now, as with any project, you know, things can change and you'll have to add tools. Luckily, if you followed my shopping list from the last video, things that I told you we need, hole saw, attachment, and our metal blade right there. So if you see this eye right here with a thickness next to it, also if you read real close, it does say bimetal, which means that this can cut wood and metal. We just put this in here, lock that in nice and tight. There we go. So now our saw is ready. Don't forget to put on your safety glasses. Let's get to cutting. We've got this in place where we need to cut. And anytime you're cutting, it's a good idea to start slow, especially with metal, and only use pushing motions to get your groove. That'll give you the groove, and then once you have your groove, you can start pulling motions, and that'll really take the material away. Get these out of the way. You might be saying, well, shouldn't he be wearing gloves for cutting? He's got a sharp blade, possibly sharp edges on the aluminum. And actually, no. For most cutting, for most of the cutting that you need to do, wearing gloves is actually a bad idea, just because it becomes a catch hazard for the blade. There you go, and you see how quickly that's just cutting right through there. Now, aluminum is a soft metal, so if you were doing something with steel using a metal blade, it will work. It's just going to take a little bit longer because steel is a much denser metal. There we go. I'm just going to throw that in our trash bucket, and we're good to go. Now, the other thing about metal blades is that they have a lot of teeth. So oftentimes you won't get as hard of an edge as you would with like a wood blade, where you'll see splinters and such coming off. So we're just going to set that over. Let's move to the next step. Okay, so we got our cutting done. We can just loosen that up. Remember to put your tools away. This is where we're going to start. So now we're just going to lock our flat bar into the vise. Now, if you are concerned about things being absolutely perfect, this being a perfectly straight line, and you haven't marked it, remember what I told you about buying the right level. This bubble here will show you plumb. So if we put this up to the edge, we can move it just a little bit. There we go. Now our bubble is in the center, and this is perfectly plumb. Now we're going to make sure this is really tight. There we go. Okay, like I said, we can do this with our hands. So just go ahead and put your gloves on. So when you're doing the bending, you want to make sure that you're placing the pressure as close to the point that you want it to bend as possible. If you move too far up here, what you'll have is the bend will start to move up into the higher part of the bar, and then you're not going to get a really crisp, clean bend. So here we go. There we go. First one's done. Look at that. All right, now the other thing to remember is that we're going to be going in opposites. So this one is going to be going that way. This side is going to be going away from us. Just like with the one before, you can check it with the level if you're concerned about it being totally perfect, but look at there, right in the middle. And just like there, we want to make sure the pressure is staying as low as possible, and now we're going to be bending away. If you haven't noticed yet, it looks like we're going to run into a problem. But that's fixed easily. We're going to do the 2-inch bend down here, and then we're going to do the final U-bend on the middle. Now, keep in mind, this is going to have to bend down this way. Right? So we would need to bend the bar away from us. For this, we want to bend the bar towards us. Way out of whack there. There we go. Make sure it's nice and tight. And remember, as low as you can, and push. There we go. That's looking about perfect. And now this puts us right into the situation we were in with the other side. We have enough clearance that our U-bracket is going to make it into the vise. Plumb and stuff. There we go. And remember, this is going to go away from us now. There you go. Okay, there we are. The bracket's almost done. Now all we're going to do is drill our holes, and then we're going to go do the install. Now, anytime you own a power drill and you intend that you may drill things, it's always a good idea to have a piece of scrap lumber in or around your toolbox. Like I was talking about with the top of this vise bench, you can get scrap lumber at Home Depot or Lowe's or probably several other hardware stores for fairly cheap. This is all you really need, something that you can put whatever you're going to drill on top of and be able to drill through and into that surface instead of, say, your countertop or your vise table. This is a rather cheap piece of wood for the vise table, but I really don't want to damage it this early in the game. For our holes, we're actually going to flip this over. You could make your marks and try to drill on this side, but what you're going to run into is the side of the drill running in because there's only 2 inches here. So the easy way to remedy that is just to flip your bracket over, and we're going to drill through the bottom. Now we've got 2 inches. All I'm going to do is eyeball center. I know I want 2 holes, one there and one possibly here. Same thing on this side. One there and one right about there. For the screw holes, you're going to want to go with like a 3/16. You could get away with an 8-inch or an 1/8 inch, but this is what I have. So I'm going to go with 3/16 right on top of here. Now remember, aluminum is very soft. So there you go. Not a whole lot of pressure needed, especially if you have a good sharp drill set. And you see that the plywood coming up, that's protecting my front cable. There we go. Do the other side quick. There we go. We have our holes drilled on both sides. So one thing that's not necessary, but might be interesting to some of you, is that you can make it really pretty, right? It doesn't need to be, for my purposes, but I figured it would be something interesting that you guys might want to see. What we're going to do is we're going to countersink these holes from the top, so that way our screw head sits flush with the surface here. It's not going to be janky and a little bit ugly. Now if you get like the button head screws, there's really no reason to do that because I think the actual head of the screw, the button head of the screw, makes it look pretty slick. What we're going to use, 3/8 drill bit, and we're not going to push very hard because all we're going to use is about half of the tip of the drill head. Hit that just a little bit more. There you go. Now you can see you've kind of got that bevel all the way around. And if you really want to check it out, you can grab one of your screws, fit it right in there, and you can see just how flush it is. So then you want to hit all 3 holes like that. There you go. This bracket is ready for install. So to do your install, what you need to know is how high this can go. Alright, so it's like right about there. Because I want my bracket to sit at a little bit of an angle. Right? So that'll make it easier to use. And the reason it's good to have an extension is because a lot of these are made to hold your screw. Kind of wonky being right-handed. So now, once you have the screw in place, you can kind of just let that swing and get the screw started. Alright? You don't want to put that first screw all the way in until you have the second screw on the top started. This one can go all the way in. There you go. Now we'll put in our final 2 screws. Now as you may have seen, I had one hand on the back while I was pulling the trigger with the other. That's really important when you're driving screws. It helps you make sure that the screw goes all the way in. The other thing that's important is making sure that your extension stays in a straight line with the screw. There you go. Our bracket's installed. Let's install our garbage can. There you go. Now you can run into it, but it's not going to fall over. So that's it. The trash can is secured. Dumdum is happy. Yeah, I know, buddy. If you guys like this, feel free to hit that like, smash that subscribe, and ring that bell. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Stay healthy.